So, that gets me thinking, well, can we trust NASA? Well, it doesn't take very much research to realize, the origins of NASA. Started with Project Paperclip. They brought a bunch of Nazis over. You guys like the Nazis? Think they were pretty cool? No, the United States just said, hey, let's hire them and put them in charge of a whole bunch of, stuff. And the Fourth Reich continued in the United States. They're the founders. And you got other people like Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, Luciferian occultists out there doing ceremonial sex magic in an area that became now known as Area 51. Jack Parsons, the founder of Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So that's the origin of our space program. And if you look at the word NASA in Hebrew, that's really interesting too. Now, I took Hebrew 101 twice, so that gives you an indication of my aptitude for learning Hebrew. But I did learn a few things along the way. And one of them is I don't know if you can see it in the picture there, but there's the middle letter in Hebrew there is a shin, and has a little dot over the right side of it. When the dot is over the right side, it's pronounced with a sh sound. When the dot is over the left side, it's with a s sound. Okay, the first time it shows up with the sh sound as nasha. And that is that scripture that I pointed out at the beginning of this second session. The serpent beguiled me. The word beguiled there means to greatly deceive. That's the word NASA. First time. And who deceived Eve? A serpent. Well, that's interesting. Beguiled, okay, that's where it shows up. Translated, Nakash, translated as serpent. And look at the logo for NASA. Maybe it's just a big coincidence, right? Don't be silly. You can trust us. Now that was with the sh sound, nasha. And when it's with the on the left side there, it has the meaning to bear or to lift up. And the first time it shows up is in Genesis 4:13, where Cain says his punishment is more than he can bear. How interesting the context in which both first appear. Nasha in reference to Eve being deceived by the serpent, and NASA in reference to Cain's punishment after killing his brother Abel. And some of you have seen my other research and things like that, where I'll point to a chart like this that shows the Hebrew letters and the corresponding numerical value and the meanings of the individual letters and stuff like that. The Hebrew word for NASA has a numerical weight of 351. So also do the Hebrew words, or the Hebrew phrases, out of man and of your country or land. The phrase out of man comes from Genesis 2:23. Out of man, where Eve was taken out of man, and out of your country in Genesis 12:1, where Abraham is told to leave his country. So with all of this in mind, we end up with an interesting meaning. Out of men of your land, they are lifted up to greatly deceive. These people are Kabbalists. They study the occult. They love to hide stuff in plain sight. Is it just a coincidence that this is the Hebrew meaning of the word NASA? Now, we have it as an acronym, right? National Aeronautics and Space Administration. I'm going to suggest, looking at their occult background, it probably has multiple meanings. And the Hebrew sheds some interesting light on it. Of course, the scriptures talk about in the Ten Commandments, right? The first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Oh, so what does NASA do? Names all their mission after gods. Mercury, the messenger of the gods, right? Followed by Gemini. Got more stuff going on there. And then, of course, we have Apollo. And Apollo 11. That's not a coincidence either. And the eagle. And there's so much stuff we don't have time to get into on that. I cover that in my Babylon Rising book. If you really want to go down some interesting paths, start researching the Apollo program. I would recommend you write this down if you're taking notes. Check out the video, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. A funny thing happened on the way to the moon, followed by Astronauts Gone Wild, both by a guy named Bart Sibrel. Watch those videos. Those will likely lead you to a host of other ones. Check out this website right here, aulis.com, AULIS.com. They have a ton of information there. And by high-level PhD type people analyzing the data, looking at the photographs and saying everything we're told by Apollo is a fraud, is a lie. And how interesting. I thought it was, rather poetic and, kind of a funny thing that I'm giving this presentation in a venue called the Milky Way. But I'm also in the First Nation to expose the moon rock as a fraud. Your country was given, among other countries, were given moon rocks from our astronauts from the Apollo missions. So you guys decided to take out an insurance claim on it, take out some insurance of it. And of course, whenever you go to get insurance like that, you want to test something and check it out, make sure it's authentic and whatnot. And you guys figured out that it's petrified wood. So my wife and I went to your big museum down the road here. That's where this rock is supposed to be. We went there and we asked the person that was selling the tickets about it, and he had no idea that their museum had the moon rock. Okay, this is supposed to be one of the greatest significant achievements of all of humanity. Going to the moon. You got all these nice Rembrandt pictures and everything else, but you don't have the rock from a first place our humans have ever been besides the Earth? The guy had no clue. So he sends us to the information booth. So we go over there, we talk to the lady, and she's like, I don't know anything about that. So she gets on the computer and starts looking it up, and it used to be here, but I guess it's been moved underground, and she got the code for the rock or whatever, and it's been put in a vault and storage somewhere.
Is this the work you mean? You can read it.
October 1969, probably.
Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to look if it's on this page.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's this picture with it, but your picture looks different.
Yeah,
That's okay.
that's it.
That's it. Okay, I'm going to do that.
Ja, snap ik wel. Dus daarom bel ik jou gelijk. Ze weten het nummer, dat scheelt. Ja. Ja. Ja.
Hier zijn het echt zo klaar. Ja, maar het is dus nog niet. Nee. Wij hebben een personeel. Oh, ja, bak is even lekker. Heel dichtbij te zien. En echt absoluut.
So it's probably on the third floor somewhere, right?
Yeah, if it's there, but then now can find it because now I have the object number.
Oh, good.
And I look
So
in
you'll
the
know for
system.
sure if it's here.
Oh, so you'll see if it's still.
Yes.
I can't believe nobody else has ever asked.
It shows what everybody thinks about it.
Yeah.
Volgens mij is het tot. And then see where it is.
Ja.
Wat betekent DL ook weer?
Lelystad. Ja.
Oh ja, it's in depot in Lelystad.
What's that?
It's not on display.
Oh, it's not on display.
We have a depot
Ja.
where we keep
Goed.
stuff.
Oh,
we have it in
goed.
Amsterdam and we have it in another city, Lelystad.
Oh, okay.
And it's there.
So it's not on
Moment,
display
komt
anywhere
nog
where
aan van
people
de
can see it.
veiligheidszaak.
It's like in a warehouse or something.
Yeah, in the warehouse.
So you can't see it. Wow. Petrified rock. I wonder where they got that. Well, is it just a coincidence that Wernher von Braun and his buddies went down to Antarctica? I believe it was 1967. Right in the middle of the space race. Right? We're supposedly neck and neck with the Russians, right? We got to beat these guys into space. And now, the Russians are these guys are doing space rocks and we got to do our thing and we're competing. Hey, let's go down to Antarctica. What do you think? And what were they down there for? They were looking for moon rocks. Okay, wait a minute. We haven't been to the moon yet. This is 67, I believe. So, how do you know it's from the moon if you find a rock? It's not like you can pick it up and look underneath it and it's made on the moon. There's no way you could know. Even if there were moon rocks there's no way you're going to know it came from the moon. We haven't been to the moon. We don't know what it's made of, cheese or what. How do you know? Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that they are down there looking for moon rock, and we gave them, here's our astronauts. Wow, we did this great thing. They go to all these different countries, and they give, rocks to presidents and kings and queens and whatever. And then you guys finally decided to test it, and it turns out to be a fraud. That's very telling. We'll do a little quiz for you. Do you guys know about Apollo 11, where they landed on the moon? What part of the moon? Do you know, can you identify this region of the moon?
Dutch Eden.
What's that?
Dutch Eden.
Sea of Tranquility is where Apollo 11 was, right? The problem is that's not the Sea of Tranquility, nor is it the moon. That's Arizona, where they blew up portions of the desert of Arizona to look just like the region of the moon that we were supposedly going to. Now, looking at that picture, if I said, hey, this is the area of the moon where the Apollo 11 was to land, most of us wouldn't think anything of it. Most of us would go, okay, cool. Not even realizing you're looking at a black and white photograph of Arizona that was blown up. If you don't believe me, you can go on Google Earth today and still see what's left of it after 50 years. Okay? Go to that location right there. Got Buzz Aldrin standing there in one of the test sites. See the mountain range behind him? Well, what do you know? It's on the moon, too. There he is in the corner, hopping along, like a bunny rabbit at half-speed film. This is a pretty telling picture, before and after. Just do a Google or YouTube search for the Apollo 11 press conference and watch the first 20 to 30 minutes of it. These guys look, these guys are all in probably, late 20s, early 30s, I'd guess. I don't know how old they were when they went there. But I know how I would be if I just got back from the moon. I'd still be floating, man. I was on the moon, man! Woo-hoo! I'd been jazzed out of my mind for the rest of my life. These guys look like their dogs just got shot. And they told that their parents aren't really their parents. They're adopted stepchildren. I mean, seriously, Santa Claus isn't real. I mean, their whole life is shattered. I mean, you look at these guys. They look like, to me, they look like good, honest, patriotic men that have been forced to lie. That's what it looks like to me. You can watch it for yourself.
Astronauts Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin. Neil?
It was our pleasure to have participated in one great adventure. It's an adventure that took place not just in the month of July, but rather one that took place in the last decade. We all here and the people listening in today had the opportunity to share that adventure over its developing and unfolding in the past months and years. It's our privilege today to share with you some of the details of that final month of July that was certainly the highlight for the three of us of that decade. We're going to divert a little bit from the format of past press conferences and talk about the things that interested us most, in particular the things that occurred on and about the moon. We will use a number of films and slides which most of you have already seen, and with the intent of pointing out some of the things that we observed on the spot, which may not be obvious to those of you who are looking at them here from the surface of Earth. The flight, as you know, started promptly. And I think that was characteristic of all the events of the flight. The Saturn gave us one magnificent ride, both into Earth orbit and on a trajectory to the moon. Our memory of that actually differs little from the reports that you have all heard from those previous Saturn V flights, and the previous flights served us well in preparation for this flight in the boost as well as the subsequent phases. We would like to skip directly to the translunar coast phase and remind ourselves of the long chain of events that actually permitted a landing.
So then I ask you, if we can prove, and I think the evidence is abundant, when you look at websites like alice.com, you look at the documentaries like A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon and many others that have been done, if we can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I think there's more than enough evidence to do so, that Apollo never happened the way we were told that it did, then neither did this. This is the picture we've all seen in our textbooks. This is from Apollo 17. I've got a YouTube video where I show another picture taken from Apollo 17 where the astronaut is like kind of right in the foreground and over his shoulder is the Earth. And I did this live on the air on Google Hangout. I took the audience, I said, look, we're going to the NASA website, we're going to Apollo 17, we're on the Apollo 17 page, look at this picture, scientists on the moon, clicked on that picture, download it, bring it into Photoshop, adjust the levels, the contrast levels, and what do you know? A rectangular box shows up around the Earth. What's a rectangular box doing around the Earth? By the same mission that gave us this picture, that was in every one of our textbooks growing up. This was the only picture we saw for decades until they started putting out the Blue Marble series, and none of them looked the same. Which one, NASA? Which one's our Earth? Continents are shifting and growing and shrinking in size. Everything, colors, everything looks different. My favorite one is the one from 2002. That's the one if you bought an iPad or an iPhone, it's the default background. In fact, no, I don't have my iPad with me, but if I turn my iPad on, it's still there. I still have the default background. That's the Blue Marble from 2002. Well, I brought that one into Photoshop and did an analysis on it because I saw some other people doing it, and I wanted to check it for myself. And I kept seeing where the Photoshop clone tool was replicating clouds. These are just a few of the highlighted areas where that's the case. Wait a minute, if we're taking pictures of the Earth, why the heck do you have to use Photoshop to replicate clouds? And why is the majority of the modifications in the so-called southern hemisphere? This is what really got me going. Is when I went down this trail, started looking at the blue marbles and looking at pictures allegedly shot of our Earth from space and seeing actual footage of Apollo 11 faking the Earth in the window because they had a circular window inside the capsule, and they're on the other end of the capsule. They had all the lights out, and they're angling the camera in such a way that the curvature of the window is giving the illusion of a spherical Earth that they were supposedly shooting through the window to see.
Unfortunately, we only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with the TV camera. So your view now is probably better than ours is. Roger, we copy. 11, Houston, if you could comply, we'd like to see some smiling faces up there. If you could give us some interior views, I'm sure everybody'd like to see you. Over. Okay, we'll reconfigure the TV for that. Roger. Apollo 11, Houston, appears to us that we're seeing a view from outside plus a little of the inside. It appears you've taken the camera away from the left window. Now, over. That's correct. We're moving it back and reconfiguring for interior lighting. Roger. We can still see the Earth through the left window, and it appears that we can see a floodlight off to the left, either that or some sun shafting through the hatch window. It's a floodlight. Now we're coming in. Can't quite make out who that is. That's Big Mike Collins there.
Well, you got a little bit of...
Yeah, hello there, sports fans. You got a little bit of me, plus Neil's in the center couch, and Buzz is doing the camera work this time.
So I started seeing all that stuff, and I'm in, I was doing a conference in San Diego, and I was flying back from San Diego, and we're flying over New Mexico, over the desert, and I'm just taking pictures of the desert with my iPhone. And I was leaning back like this and took a picture, and the iPhone will focus, you can tell it where to focus by tapping on it, It had automatically focused on what I was looking at down below, the airplane, but what was in the foreground was the inside curvature of my window, which the iris had closed down such that it was because the outside was so bright, that it was a dark curved effect on the left side of my photograph. And when I clicked it to look at it, I'm like, wait a minute. So I start taking all kinds of pictures like this, and I'm leaning back doing this, and Sheila's sitting next to me, my wife. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm taking pictures of Mars. Leave me alone. Hang on. Taking pictures. And if you go to my website, I should have posted them here. I didn't post them here. If I showed you the pictures that I took and told you these were recent surveyor pictures of Mars, you would all believe it. I would have believed it. But it's New Mexico from 37,000 feet on my Spirit Airline flight, with the curved window pretending to be the curvature of the Earth. If you go to my Testing the Globe website, testingglobe.com, and go to Easy Globalist Arguments to Refute, and if you scroll down on that page, you'll see some pictures that I had taken. This right here was taken out of my Spirit Airlines flight on the way back from San Diego to Dallas at about 37,000 feet. I was taking pictures out the window, and just the way that the camera adjusted itself, I was using my iPhone. So it focused on the background image back here. It made that nice and bright, and the foreground was out of focus and dark. Well, I mean, you don't have to do a whole lot to that image to make it look like something that it's not. Add a red filter to it, put a little bit of a glow around it, throw a space probe or a satellite or an ISS over it if you wanted to, and what do you know? You got something that the average person could easily be deceived by. This is New Mexico at 37,000 feet. Or it's Mars with a space probe in front of it. I'm just saying it's really easy to, as Ben Kenobi said, your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. And with modern technology today, it's even easier. And if you've got a great set like Devon Island to use to pretend that it's Mars that very few people will ever get to, who's going to go up there? I mean, it's really far north and really cold and very remote. So, what are the chances that Joe Blow is going to be up there? Now, why would NASA put that stuff out in plain sight? Well, I mean, again, it could be it's just a training site and they have no problem telling people that. Could also be Amos 3:7. God says he himself, he doesn't do anything except that he tells his servants, the prophets, first what he's going to do. So if that's a law that even God himself has bound himself by, then perhaps that's the reason why, we talk a lot about the Illuminati always putting things out in plain sight. It's hidden in plain sight, but it's there. It's there for everybody to see. Maybe they have to do the same thing too. I don't know. You want to believe the best. You want to think, okay, it's just a training facility and it's all good. It's all above board. But then again, the possibility and even plausibility that it could be used for deceptive purposes is there as well. So just something to consider. Then this is the most recent one, came out from NASA July 20th, 2015. And the president tweeted this picture. Oh, wow, look at this. Yay. Well, if you take that same picture and flip it upside down, the cloud formation spells sex. Interesting. You get this blue marble, and you look at it at first, it's an improvement over some of the other blue marbles. But then somebody brilliant out there decided, hey, I'm going to flip this thing upside down. And as soon as they did, the clouds are spelling sex.
Yep.
And you're like, come on. Oh,
Yep.
man.
And you know what I also loved about that was, and Jonathan and I have talked about before, was that when they put out the blue marble shot, they made a point of saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, this is the first blue marble shot we've done in 43 years,"
What all the other ones?
yeah, which helped the flat Earth cause, because everybody, on that side was saying, there are no pictures of the Earth from space. There's only one that they've ever said, and people are going, no, no, that's not true. And then the White House and Neil deGrasse Tyson comments on it, said, oh yeah, this is the second shot from space in 43 years. I was going, and this doesn't bother anybody?
So wait. Do you think they're helping the cause or the movement so that they can get out from under their lies? Do you think, they're giving little clues
That is, go ahead.
Well, because they're still saying this is the real deal,
Yeah.
They're saying that this is the ball Earth, and I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying, now with this new satellite or whatever, we're going to be getting pictures every month and new stuff. So their plan is to constantly put it in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I will say this, and I think the movement, and especially with help from guys like you, I don't think that blue marble shot would have come out if this thing wasn't getting.
I agree.
This traction. It was I was humbled when I saw that. Because that blue marble thing was passed around inside our circles really, really fast, and I was going, wow. That's something. You're actually going to come out and put the shot out because we've been saying that there's no shot.
Well, and then right after that is the moon crossing in front of the Earth. It was 2 weeks after that, I think that one came out. So it's almost like they're really scrambling because there's a guy out there called Conscious Truth on YouTube.
Okay.
He's got a series, NASA Fake Images of Earth Smoking Gun, parts 1 through 5. Mm-hmm. Where he's going on the NASA website, going through their image catalog, the NSS-DC image catalog of the Earth, going through each of the Apollo missions and clicking on them, bringing it into Photoshop, adjusting the levels and showing the funky masks that are around them. He's just hammering them. And I did a few myself. I did the same thing with Apollo 17, Scientists on the Moon. I did that on 2 different Google Hangout shows on video, with 2 different people interviewing me. We did it live on the air. I took people to the site, downloaded it live, put it in Photoshop, adjusted the levels, showed them the square box around the Earth.
Right. I saw the one you did with Josh Peck.
Yeah, with Josh.
Yeah, where you had the square box around the Earth that was coincidentally right underneath that pointed end of the flag. Yeah. And it was like 3 days later, I think, somebody sent me a thing on Facebook saying, go look at the same webpage that I was just on, and it said it was updated. That page was updated like 2 days, 3 days after I did that show. Really? And it's gone now?
It was updated, and I downloaded the picture again and tried it again, and I got a totally different effect. Nice. It still had pixelation around it, but they must have put a higher resolution picture and cleaned it up, because you could actually, when you adjusted the levels the same way that I did in the prior one, you could actually see stars, which you couldn't see in any of the other ones. So what it appeared is, these guys are out there doing this, I'm doing this, other people are doing it, exposing these pictures, and somebody over there at NASA must have they just hired a guy to go kind of clean up all the all the old stuff. Yeah. And it's like, okay, now let's get some new stuff out. Let's throw out Pluto.
Yeah, Pluto. I was just gonna say, let's throw the Pluto thing out there.
Pluto out of
What's the motivation? Why would they lie to us? Well, first, I think, to get people to doubt Yahuwah's word by destroying the very foundation of our Bible, Genesis, specifically the creation account. 2, set up a new paradigm where God is out and science is in. Evolution removes Yahuwah from the equation. When evolution finally runs its course and becomes utterly bankrupt, introduce the idea of intelligent design, but deny the true designer his due credit and place it rather on ancient aliens. 4, promote the ancient alien theme as much as possible in all forms of media by perpetuating the concept of Earth as a tiny blue marble orbiting an average sun in an average galaxy among trillions of other galaxies in an ever-expanding universe. With so much potential for life to exist in such a vast universe, the idea of alien scientists being our creators seems a lot more plausible over time and heavy indoctrination. And 5, the stage is set for our alien creators to return and bestow upon us their miracles, signs, and wonders in order to convince us all the more that all religions are false. We then put our trust in them. Finally, when Christ does return, we are all convinced that he is the enemy, and our united world gathers together to make war with him. In my mind, those are some reasonable reasons to have motivation to create a deception.